Welcome. We are at the Biohacking Congress in Austin, Texas, and there are over 30 speakers here with different science backgrounds. There's doctors, experts, working with health companies all around the world that are here to talk about health and all of the new things that are coming up and to help everyone. So if you're interested in that, there's another Biohacking Congress in Miami, October 20th through 22nd, 2023. So go on biohackingcongress.com for those tickets. All right, so welcome Robbie Besner. Thank you for being here of Therasage. So tell us about Therasage.
Well, I'm the device developer and the co-founder.
Okay.
Our
great.
company is about 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of divinely devised or developed or designed, however you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Our company was born on the back of some research that I was doing because I'm a medical practitioner.
Okay.
I also have some background in science, physics, psychology, a bunch of other different things. And my oldest child, my daughter, contracted Lyme disease, and when she got sick with chronic Lyme, we were able to find a very prominent, probably the most prominent Lyme literate doctor. We live down in South Florida.
Okay.
And this doctor was in Southampton, Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife and I, we would take turns, but basically every 6 weeks we'd fly up to New York and visit with the doctor, spend an hour or two, and then basically spend the rest of the time in Manhattan. I didn't want my child's early childhood memories, adolescent memories, to be about her diagnosis.
Right.
I wanted it to be about fun and enjoying life and, oh, by the way, let's go for a treatment.
Yeah.
Anyway, it became very obvious to me in a short period of time that the onus of healthcare really resides in the family and the individual, not necessarily the relationship with the practitioner. They're just giving you guidance and helping you along the way in your journey.
Right.
And unpacking that a little bit, I started myself looking at how my daughter was expressing herself, and she had high levels of toxicity, inflammation, cognitive challenges, pain.
Okay.
Very common kinds of challenges that Lyme patients have. So somehow I centered on toxicity, and then I started researching that, what best ways to detoxify, and I discovered that there are frequencies of sun energy that actually mobilize all the toxins in your body. And that's the full spectrum of infrared.
Okay.
And then I took a look at what was available. This is 25 years ago. Infrared wasn't mainstream yet.
No,
in fact,
not at all.
In fact, in the medical area, it was mostly used by medical doctors or athletic medical doctors to help players lower their pain.
Okay.
And to get them to repair a little bit faster to get them back on the field. So that all that intrigued me a little bit.
Yeah.
So I organized a trip to go to China. I spent 3 months. I saw 65 factories and found 1 or 2 that I wanted to work with. And I started to developing just some devices for home use.
Okay.
My daughters found it really great.
Yeah.
And so the doctors that were, then we didn't have telemed. We didn't have virtual practices.
Right.
What we had was a lot of doctors in different locations and corresponding with one another. And before long, my daughter had a team, probably 6 or 7 practitioners, all actually prescribing and not talking to one another on that level, which was a little bit tough.
Yeah.
But mostly we just discovered that we could harness these wavelengths, we could help her detoxify, we could do this ourselves.
Okay.
Essentially, the practitioners, her team, saw her getting some really great results, and they started to ask us to make these devices for them, and that was sort of the genesis of our company. It wasn't no venture capital, no big business plan. My wife and I still own 100% of our company.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we've developed 22 different applications.
Okay.
We sell to the public. We're the first company, one of the first companies to really bring infrared mainstream. It really wasn't by choice or design, it just is a momentum. You can't keep nature down one way or another, right?
Yes.
And now it's just become so important, and I didn't have that foresight. I wasn't really thinking it would be what it is today. I didn't think that wireless everything and cell phones and exogenous frequencies would be such a part of our lives, nor did I think our environment would be as bad as it is now. So I think that explains a lot why the health trends are off the chart.
Definitely. So infrared. So for people who don't know what infrared is or the benefits of that, to the average person, what would infrared really be in layman's terms?
Okay. Well, the sun generates a whole bunch of different frequencies. We see each other because we only resonate in what's the natural light. That's like the rainbow.
Okay.
You know, red, green, yellow, blue,
yes.
right? But if you step outside of natural light, there are abundance of wavelengths and energy. It's the electromagnetic range of energies that come from the sun. And that would be gamma rays and X-rays and radio waves and microwaves.
None of which you can see with
Correct.
the naked eye.
All invisible to us.
Right.
And so we exist in a world of energies that basically we can't smell, taste, hear, or feel, which are really designed to keep us, like all of our body systems working in check.
Right.
Then, of course, mankind comes onto the planet and we start making, like electrical devices, cars and electric bikes.
Thinking we know better.
Right, and Bluetooth, wireless, everything.
Yes.
And those are what's called man-made or exogenous frequencies, which conflict with what's happening with nature, and that's what's happening right now. But the infrared spectrum particularly comes in 3 different wavelengths, the near, the mid, and the far.
Okay.
Each of those wavelengths do different things. We kind of live in a world like we're looking for root cause, we're looking to kind of dissect things down, and I think when it comes to nature, particularly when it comes to sun energy, it's important to understand that each of these wavelengths do different things to support your body health.
Okay.
And so if anybody listening today was just to Google or research infrared saunas, let's say, something simple, they'd see a big range between the near infrared sauna companies and the far infrared sauna companies. We make an infrared sauna, but we use full spectrum, so we're actually incorporating all 3 wavelengths.
Wow.
In the same proportion that the sun delivers it to the planet. So we're trying to mimic nature because we think that it's the best playbook.
Yes.
Next to the Bible, it's probably been the most, the one that's worked the longest and the best for this time. So.
Definitely. Okay, great. So when infrared interacts with the human body, what is the mechanism that happens? What's the chain events that occur?
Well, it's a wavelength. And so even though it's invisible, it actually has that kind of emotion. And when it comes into the body, it actually, it's called a bioresonance or a vibration. That's what resonance means. And so when the sunlight and the infrared spectrum of sunlight comes into the body, it actually penetrates through an insulating layer under your skin that's designed anatomically to support the integrity of your internal environment. So it protects us from extreme temperatures, heat or cold. So there is a difference between an infrared sauna, let's just take the sauna for instance, infrared sauna and a hot rock sauna like a Swedish sauna or a steam room. All 3 are saunas, right?
Right.
So, but the difference is that the hot rock sauna and the steam room there's an element here that heats the ambient air that touches your skin and has to be at a really high temperature to penetrate through that layer of fat that's designed to insulate you to get inside to actually start sweating and detoxing.
Okay, makes sense.
Now, infrared is a radiant. It's actually a extraction of sunlight, and it's a vibration that isn't convection heat, it's radiant heat. So that vibration, when it comes to the skin, it doesn't heat the ambient air, it comes right to the skin, and when it goes through to the layer, there isn't any sort of pushback because most of the fat, about 70% of your fat is water, 72% of your fat is water.
Right.
And infrared wavelengths actually resonate or vibrate at the same frequency as the frequency of the water inside of our bodies.
Wow.
That's a big statement.
Yes,
right?
that is.
So when infrared wavelengths come to the body, it actually penetrates through that insulating layer seamlessly, again, back to nature.
Right.
So that it can come into the body, and then it looks and seeks the most dense properties. So most people think that the densest part of our body is our bone mass, but actually it's porous. So it's structurally stronger, but it's not dense. What's dense is our muscles and organs. And so this extraction of sunlight comes into our bodies, it seamlessly comes through this insulating layer, and it starts to vibrate and harbor store in our muscles and our organs. Those areas of our body are the most vascular, and so that vibration liberates heat. The heat warms up the vessels vasodilate, they expand, and that increases blood flow by close to 20%.
Wow. So
that's moving more DNA, more food and nutrition, moving more oxygen to all of your vital organs and tissues, and it really does so many great things.
Yes. So personally, I've tried infrared saunas before, and it feels like you're coming out of a workout class when you're leaving, because you're right, it does just generate all of those cells and moving the oxygen and the blood flow, and I could imagine that is a big detox effect. So was that your main goal for your daughter, was to get toxins out of her system with Lyme?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Lyme is a parasite, and Lyme travels with bacterias that are what's called co-infections. Okay, so this is a whole family of microorganisms, and we've got more than 60,000, maybe 70,000 different organisms that live in harmony in our gastrointestinal tract, our stomachs, right? And when you talk about a pre or probiotic, now we're talking about these same organisms that basically chew up our food and digest it, so that as we eat, part of the digestive system actually breaks down these foods into its finest forms, and then we absorb it into our bloodstream.
Wow.
So we need these organisms in order and we coexist with them.
Okay.
Now, Lyme, there are times, and it's kind of called in the GI tract, when you have an imbalance in the microbiome or your terrain, that's called dysbiosis. Right. And that's when you have maybe more organisms. And generally speaking, it comes from using antibiotics, because the antibiotics will kill viruses and bacteria, the bad ones, but also kill the good ones too.
Yeah.
And so now when the body starts to repopulate these bacteria, oftentimes the ones that repopulate are the non-beneficial ones.
Okay.
And so now you've got these organisms running havoc.
Yeah.
So what does infrared do? It kind of changes that whole process around, because when infrared comes into the body and creates that vasodilation, it improves oxygenation in your blood, which is the reason why we age.
Okay.
And many of these organisms are anaerobic in nature, so they don't like heat and they don't like oxygen.
Oh.
And so when you bring infrared in and it's penetrating really deep, where these organisms colonize, the bad ones, now you're giving them their kryptonite, what they hate.
Wow.
And so they eventually just sort of die off, and then you can have an opportunity to actually repopulate your gut and get back on track.
Wow, that's amazing. For people who have never heard of Therasage, what kind of devices do you offer people?
We have about we're just about to announce 3 new devices. Generally, I do 3 new devices a year.
Oh. Wow.
But this year we're going to do 6.
Oh, wow.
Because I just started to obsess on all of my research, which is part of my personality flaw.
Right.
I don't know how my wife puts up with me, honestly.
Right.
Melody, if you're listening today, God bless you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have 22 SKUs. The most popular product we make device is a portable infrared sauna. Okay. All of our devices that are infrared are listed with FDA as Class 2 medical devices, which means we've gotten 510Ks and gone through exhausting amount of development, scrutiny from third-party testers to meet that qualification. We actually have a higher standard internally at Therasage than the FDA, but the FDA is considered globally to be one of the most recognized agencies to regulate medical devices.
Right.
And we did that because the initial first phase of Therasage was a B2B relationship. So we would teach the doctor would integrate our devices within their practice once they understood our technology and how to pair it to improve the efficacy of what they were doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So you can order a Therasage online, or do you have a bricks and mortar place? How does that work?
Clinics, we go to the doctors, you can get through your practitioner.
Oh,
that's
great.
one avenue. We go direct to the doctor, we go direct to the consumer as well. We have a website, it's therasage.com. We have a pretty active Instagram. We have almost 500,000 people that follow us now.
Wow, that's great.
And it's my joy, honestly, I have to tell you. I get up every morning and I'm just so amazed that people are so excited to be able to share their lives, their life experience publicly on this channel. And just so, like, you know, I'm reclusive. You know, I'm stuck in my lab and I'm out there, I'm talking to doctors and creating things. And so when I can see the joy, so when I create things, I have very particular intentions. But then I'm a very active listener. So oftentimes I learn more from you than I actually think about for myself. And so that really makes a big difference to me. And when I can see people express their joy and how I'm changing their families and improving their health just through their expressions on Instagram and Facebook and the chat rooms and all that, it really excites me.
Yeah. So you made a good point earlier about how your responsibility for your health really happens within the family unit. But so often we turn to the practitioner of, here are all of my problems, you fix it, right? So it's interesting that your journey took you into your own research and your own development and seeing those results. So it's wonderful that you get to share that with the world and helping so many people heal from all kinds of things. Like heavy metal toxicity, I know is a big thing right now. So what kind of things does infrared light do to heavy metals? Is it the same mechanisms for the parasitic organisms?
Okay, well, the big topic is toxicity. Okay, then we break it down. And so if you look at the body, like the air we breathe, the food we eat, you know, these are choices that we can make or alter and filter the water we drink. So we can actually do something to try to make that better for us. And so creating a self-home is a safe place, which I consider the home to be your safe place, is super important to me and to everybody listening today. There's more than 700 different chemicals that are used in households that you read about or see on TV, but don't understand how harmful they are for you. Do you know what the worst common household chemical is that people buy every day? What do you think?
Oh gosh, that's tough. I would say probably like a surface cleaning, like a bleach or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But the truth is, it's laundry detergent.
Very interesting.
Right? Because the fragrance. Now you know you get your clothes out of the dryer, right? And they smell so good, right? Well, that smell is now impregnated into the threads. And those are chemicals.
Right.
And you're wearing that stuff on you, which means it's leaching back into your blood. So it's actually the number one. But if you really take it apart, it's not that hard to actually do some inventory, building biology, EMF, clean your house up from EMF and all that kind of stuff. So it can actually help, you know, you sustain your health. Now, so detoxing is like peeling the layers of an onion. And when you bathe, you know, the water has fluorides in it and has chlorine in it and all that, right? And so now you're bathing and trying to get all the dirt off your body, but your skin is absorbing in these toxicants. The first thing it hits is that layer of fat right under your skin, and so when you're detoxing and you're purging that water inside the fat, it's actually letting go of those toxins. About 80% of them come out in your sweat. The other 20 come the other way into your bloodstream. So now we're adding, in the process of detoxing, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but a lot of people that do weight loss programs, they start losing weight and they start feeling yucky. Not just that they've lost it. Yeah, they get headaches and...
Like a detox effect, like Herxheimer reaction.
And that's really what's happening, is that they're toxifying themselves, because as that fat molecule is actually shrinking, it's liberating the poison that's inside of it. And so now it's coming either...
So it's just circulating.
Yeah, and then it goes up to your brain. Your brain doesn't like the new toxic burden that's put into your bloodstream, and it expresses through like lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea, histamine responses like itchy skin, stuff like that. So back to heavy metals. Detoxification is like peeling a layer of an onion. And so the outer core is basically the toxicants that your skin is holding, or under your skin, the fat cell. And so in order to get to heavy metals, you have to kind of get through the low-hanging fruit of toxicants first, which are usually the ones that we're most exposed to every day through our food, water, and air.
Right.
You know, hence get a good house, clean up your house, so at least you're breathing good air and you're drinking good water and all that, because then you have a fighting chance.
Yes.
Once you step outside your house, who knows?
Yeah, right.
Okay, but in your house, at least we can control some of that stuff. So, and many of the mothers and young families that are listening today, it's super important because you want your kids to grow up healthy, and they get some stuff at school. Maybe there's a rising of consciousness in this area. There are these new groups called building biologists that come in and can kind of look through your house and give families suggestions, remediate from mold, things like that.
Okay.
And I think that that's a really great place to start. But getting to heavy metals actually have a charge, like a magnetic charge. And they're found, like strontium and lead, mercury, the ones that everybody knows. Now aluminum is going to be a really big problem because most of us have aluminum toxicity. It explains why there's cognitive challenges, because heavy metals have a way to get up to the brain, and they slow down the process of us being able to think clearly, like brain fog, stuff like that. And so in order to get to heavy metals, you actually have to get through the larger toxicants first as you're moving to sort of the core of the onion, in my analogy. And metals have a charge to them. The body has a charge also. And that's why it's a little harder to get metals out, because they attract to one another like positive, negative poles of a magnet.
Right.
All right, so what's interesting is that these wavelengths of sunlight, God bless,
thank God, yes,
they come into the body and they break the covalent bond, which is that magnetic charge between the toxin and where it's stored in your tissue.
Okay.
Now the metal cascades into your bloodstream, right? We have to get that metal out. Left alone, it's just going to kind of find its way back either to the same area or a different part of the body, because they're a little harder to get out, as is the mycotoxins and the neurotoxins, the biofilms, the very small toxicants. That we stir it up, but we can't get it out. And particularly if you're a little older and your organs are tired and overworking, like your liver, pancreas, large intestine, all those filtering organs, they're just not working as efficiently.
Right.
So fasting is really good. Intermittent fasting is really good because you're giving your organs a chance to breathe and break and rest.
Okay.
So they can work a little better. And detoxing your liver every so often wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay.
But to get the heavy metal out, there aren't a lot of chelators, natural chelators that'll do that. Sun infrared will do that.
Wow.
So that's why I love using binders, because a binder is like a biosponge, and there are specialized binders that actually will bond to heavy metals. So the first part is to free them up from where they're stored. The second part is to bind them up with another magnet that's stronger than the body magnet.
Okay.
So when they're liberated, they get attracted to that binder rather than back to your system again. And then you pee, poop, sweat.
Okay.
The lymphatic system will pull them out.
Breathe it out.
Breathe it out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, that's excellent. And so when you go through that detox process, I know, like you said, it's peeling back that layer of the onion, and I guess you don't want to go so hard so quickly. So do you ease into infrared saunas?
Yes.
Okay.
Low and slow.
Okay.
I always look at how people express themselves. As a practitioner, you probably do the same thing. Yes. I know we're living in a virtual world, so sometimes you can't see people face to face, but you can ask the right questions. Tell me how your body's expressing yourself these days. Tell me how your sleeping patterns are. Tell me, do you poop regularly?
Right.
These are all kind of important things. Do you move around? Tell me what your activity level is. That kind of information gives me a lot of clues as to the best way to start. We do have general profiles, like for instance, the average person, about 80%. Now I'm excluding children under the age of 18 or older people, let's say older 60 or 70, that maybe are expressing themselves being a little bit on the more fragile side. But everybody in between, basically we start people at 130 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes is our goal.
All right.
The caveat is if you have any kind of detox response, lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea, headaches, histamine responses like itchy skin, blotchy skin, hearing or vision, temporary impairment, any of that stuff, that's your body, your brain saying that things aren't right. Now, if you experience that, even though you're going for 30 minutes, then I would ask you to stop your sauna, take a mental note of what time and temperature you're in, because you basically hit a detox barrier. And there's little speed bumps of toxicants and barriers all the way to get into that center core, going after the heavy metals if that is your goal.
Right.
And so you just have to be mindful that it isn't a straight path. You have to, it's a zigzaggy road. And that you have to be your own best doctor in really tuning into the voice inside of you, giving you guidance as to when you've had too much.
Yes.
And different than what we learned in gym class, no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
This is really about being mindful of the symptoms that come up. And what we try to do is arm all of our clients and patients with this kind of information so that when it comes across their experience, that they're not afraid, that they're not kind of experience taken by surprise, that they know about it beforehand and they know what to do. And actually, the cure is just drinking more water and diluting down the toxic burden. Hydration is super important in order for you to achieve the best benefits from infrared sauna.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I've heard that negative ions in water, if it's negatively charged ionic water, can help bind to those toxins and pull that out. So that would be, so do you know of any water devices that would help with that?
We make one.
Yes, that's.
But that was inspired by Gerald Pollack. So Dr. Pollack wrote a book about 8 years ago called The Fourth Phase of Water.
Yes.
And he's actually kind of a mentor of mine.
Oh,
so
amazing.
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate because I've had an opportunity. I'm an older guy and I've also been in the industry, started many years ago than most people.
Yeah.
So I kind of been pounding this beat, and now it's becoming a little bit more popular, and I'm enjoying the fact that there's more awareness to this category, energy medicine in particular, because I think that's the movement. And the allopaths are running out of, like the MDs. If you're listening, we're just running out of a little bit of playing room now, and you need to look. I think the whole consciousness is looking at a more integrated, functional kind of approach. Lost my train of thought.
Well, I'm really interested in the water device that you carry.
Okay, so basically Dr. Pollack inspired me because what he showed us was that there's actual wavelengths of sunlight that will restructure the water inside of your body. So he talks about evacuation zones. It's when sun energy comes into the body, particularly the infrared spectrum, and he actually identifies the 9.4 nanometers that actually is the wavelength of sun energy, which is in the infrared spectrum, that harmonizes with the water inside of us.
That's amazing.
That's why infrared saunas are so effective, because it basically syncs nature with the way our bodies.
So it's basically structuring the cells in your body, the molecular structures.
Exactly. And it allows better cell communication, better methylation, better cell function.
Wow.
So it gives us a fighting chance. But we're starved of sunlight. We don't touch the earth anymore. This negative ion piece is so important. So it is really important to be focused on earth energy. We actually recreate that because we bring gemstone technology. I actually did this. I've had a very interesting life, but I had an opportunity prior to COVID. Every year I'd go to China for about 5 weeks, sometimes once or twice a year. And I've taken some excursions. One, I was interested, one year I did a study on longevity, and there are 3 blue zones. People live to over 100 years on average. So I visited 2 blue zones in China, which was a 21-hour trip by bus with English-speaking people. I did have a interpreter with me.
Well, that's great.
And we went to a place where negative ions were abundant, and I brought some medical devices, scientific devices, to study this on the way. And when I got there, I had a digital readout, and the digits were off my meter. That's how strong the negative ions were, which probably on Earth, like Niagara Falls is a place where it has an exuberant abundance of negative ions. This was actually 10 times stronger than the effect of at Niagara Falls. And it was all because of gemstones that were in the soil, which was these natural blood orange tourmaline stone, which is the stone that we use inside of our saunas. Because basically we want to bring nature back into the body. And we feel that it's something that we're living in a very fast food kind of society now. People want just one pill to do it all. Things like that. We've actually kind of regressed and gotten away from the way nature intended us to be in many ways, just because of, even though we have really nice things, fast cars, electric bikes, Bluetooth, everything, wireless, this and that. I think we're not touching the earth anymore. We're not getting a lot of nature, different energies.
Well, and it's really ungrounding. The frequencies are so ungrounding, and so it's hard to think clearly. It's hard to operate efficiently.
Right.
And if you're having positively charged ions all around you, that can really mess up that electromagnetic field around your organ systems, your whole body.
Totally right. And so you've got two things happening. We're not touching the earth, so we're not getting charged. And we're in an environment like just in technology, like the lights in this room, for instance, are generating positive charged particles called cations. And our body, we're absorbing that right now. So it's throwing our energy bodies right off right now. So after this interview, I suggest you go hug a tree outside.
I would love
if
to
you
do
can.
that. Yeah.
I'm not sure, it's still winter out. But the idea is to get grounded, to touch things that are rooted into the ground, or surround yourself with those kinds of energies, which we employ in our technology, but it's also in gemstones. And so as I curate these various different aspects of nature, I try to incorporate that into our systems and our protocols to help the body do what it does naturally. And truth be told, we can heal ourselves.
Yes.
So it's so amazing to watch people it's almost like watching a flower, just open up. It's amazing.
Well, and it's utilizing the right tools at the right time. So yes, your body is designed to heal itself, and thankfully we have things like Therasage putting out products to help people access those tools to regenerate the body and help promote healing. And so negative ions, negative ions are emitted when water moves and out trees in nature, and tourmaline and gemstones, like you said. So those are big hitters for people to really incorporate in their day so that they're
surround yourself with them, right? It starts with this. We're talking about it. You guys are now becoming aware that it's important to bring this into your life. What are the ways to find it? It's around us. It doesn't have to be expensive.
Yep.
Okay, so, I live in South Florida, so I make a point of communing with nature every day, at least for an hour. For the young mothers that are listening, like the kids, they're not carrying books anymore, they're carrying tablets. Those tablets are connected to microtowers. That's bringing them all these kind of exogenous frequencies that are hurting them. Spend an hour on the tablet doing your studies, and then, now it's winter, so it may not be so easy to go play outside, but then spend an hour off those devices and get grounded.
Right.
However you do that, so that you can create the balance in your home and with your family, so that you grow up with great connections and your neural pathways are all connected properly. And it's particularly important with the young ones, because
definitely
their neural pathways aren't connected truly until they're in their late teens, maybe as early as early 20s.
So the red light therapy, you utilize red light in your infrared saunas to that actually helps, like you mentioned, winter, with the seasonal affective disorders and improving your mental status and all of that and I'm assuming it's because of the natural sunlight effect that it has in that.
Yeah, well, SADS and what you're describing is really a deprivation. Our body's just slowly, little by little, just removing itself from direct sunlight.
Right.
And the best photoreceptor is our skin. And so during winter, we're dressed up like Michelin men and women, right? So we've got 5 layers of clothes, depends on where you live. So we got less contact, our skin, to the sun. So unless you do things like, and it's interesting to me when I started studying that, the Baltic areas of the world, they basically, for 9 months out of the year, they have very little sunlight. And so what they've done as a culture is that most families have a UV light frequency device in their homes, and they wake up, their first routine when they wake up is they get 20 to 30 minutes of UV light to stimulate what the sun would have done to get their circadian rhythms and biorhythms in sync, and to give them what they need, not just for vitamin D, which most people are deficient on, but to get all those body systems working. And so it's super important.
Good. Well, I could talk to you all day long about just everything, the frequencies and infrared wavelengths and negative ions, all of that. But what if people want to find you and they want to partake in the products that you produce? Where can they go?
Well, we have a website.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest way. It's an information site. We're kind of unusual in some ways as a company. Maybe it's just because of our own pain to purpose, like that whole mission. But knowing that as a company, we feel it's not just important to make a really great device. We think we make one of the best ones out there, said humbly. But we think that we have to deliver it to you on time. Not Amazon on time.
Yeah.
Okay. But something like that, because the sauna is an oversized box, so it takes a few days. But also to teach you how to use it so that you get the most out of it. And so we have a division that we call TheraHealth from Therasage. And TheraHealth we have a team of 7 health professionals. One's an expert in movement, one's a culinary chef, an expert in nutrition. We have an emotional healer that's on our team.
That's great.
And then we have a few integrated health providers. And so when you buy a Therasage device, you can make a free call, just make an appointment, and they will discuss with you what your goals are, your challenges, and then create a protocol, tell you about what products, or devices that we make, and what accessories or collateral types of binders or other kinds of systems that you can use to help marry your goal.
Like the natural chelators we were talking about in the binders.
The binders and various different supplements. We recently did a collaboration with a really famous doctor named Dr. Stephen Cabral, and he has a full line of amazing nutritional support systems and detox systems and stuff like that. And so it's really an integrated process.
Okay.
And we're trying to retrain people to kind of understand better, best choices of things. So whatever your natural choices are, your natural choices, and we go with that. But most people don't understand that there might be a better choice, they just don't know it. And so education is a big thing. And doing these kinds of discussions is really important to just raise that awareness. So you can come to Therasage.com.
Okay.
You can write info or support at Therasage.com. We have an 800 number, 888-416-4441. We've got a Facebook group that's Therasage. We have a Instagram group or Instagram that's, I think, Therasage Infrared. Okay. And so you can kind of sign up, join the community, and we'd just love to hear from everyone and try to help raise their awareness. Whether you buy a product or not, which is really about making people aware of the things that can really make a difference in their vitality. Right.
Like we said, it's another tool in your toolbox, and it's great that it's just like if you exercise a lot, you're going to have to recover. There's always a process that you want to match the opposite. So if you're eating a lot, you want to exercise. If you want to exercise, you want to recover. If you're awake a lot, you want to sleep. So it's the same thing with doing a sauna. You want to do the sauna and you want to detox, but you also want to bind and work with other things too. So it's great that you even have the water devices and all of those things to help support in a very holistic way. So, it was wonderful speaking with you. And Robbie Besner of Therasage, thank you so much for being here. It's been an honor.
Yes, I feel the same way. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.